This is Sarah Satch with Posh Pooch Designs, and this is our live video chat. Now, Facebook did some changes to the live video, so I'm still trying to figure out some of it, and trying to figure out, because I can put a comment in here, but I can't, I haven't been able to see your comments, and so I haven't figured out exactly where Facebook put them. But we'll figure it out together. Anyway, like I said, this is our live video chat, and I've got my back to school. It says, want to know who's watching your live video? Swipe to the left to see the viewers. Well, it gives me a number, but it doesn't give me anybody's names or the comments that you're making. So hopefully, I'll figure that part out. But anyway, this week here in our area, the schools all started on Monday. So I know a lot of people are going to be starting soon. So I've got my back to school mug out here. It says right here, teachers inspire the future. A little bit of tidbit that you all probably don't know is many years ago, I used to be a kindergarten teacher. When we lived in Germany, I got to teach in the school there. It was a lot of fun. But when we came, we were in the Air Force, and we were stationed at Ramstein Air Force Base, and I got to teach in the school there. When we came back to America, we were stationed up in South Dakota, and I just wasn't able to get into the school system, and so I went another direction. But I really loved teaching kindergarten. I don't know that I could do it nowadays, though. We need to really appreciate our teachers because, you know, there's more and more kids, class sizes are bigger and bigger, and there's so much more information that teachers are required to teach along with the basics. So we really need to hold those people up and appreciate them. Anyway, this is my back to school mug. Isn't it cute? It's really old. I mean, 30 years or something like that. I can't remember when I, got it. So, I mean, it's really old. So if you're here, go ahead and clink in. Unfortunately, for some reason, I'm unable to see the comments. I commented at the top that said hello. So maybe if you comment under that comment, maybe those will pop up. And the whole thing's different now, so I can't see it. Anyway, let's move along to some fun stuff. Today is part 1 of how to read a yarn label. And I haven't decided if I'm going to do 3 or 4 or however many. It just depends on the information, because there is a lot of information on the yarn label that can really help us in our craft, whether we're a crocheter or a knitter, or we use yarn for weaving or embroidery or anything. There's lots of great information right on the label that'd be really great for us to learn. For our demonstration, or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to be using this yarn. I was going to grab several, but there were just too many of them to try to get them all together. And since this is a new yarn, this is the Red Heart Ombre, I thought I would use it for our talk today, or our discussion. And have any of you tried the new ombre? I did a shawl with it, and I really, really liked it. And there were some questions about it being a little bit rough. If you put it in your washing machine with just a few squirts of white vinegar and a few squirts of fabric softener, and just run it through a rinse cycle, and then hang it up, or you can put it in the dryer on light. A lot of people dry their acrylic yarn projects. I don't. I know you can, but again, my theory is I want it to last as long as possible, and so I don't. But that will help soften it up. I tried to put the yarn in the bag and all of that, and I just had a great big mess on my hands. And so I find it a lot easier to wash it after the project is made. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to set this one aside because I made some pictures just to make it easier for you all to see. All right, so this is the yarn that we're going to be talking about, Super Saver Ombre. And if you'll notice, right under the name, there is ounces, grams, yards, and millimeters. And so this one is 10 ounces, and then it gives you how many yards that is. Some people prefer to know the ounces. Some people prefer to know the yards. And then in other countries, of course, they use the metric system. So you've got all that information right there, right under the name. And that's good information to have. Me personally, I go by ounces. When I'm doing a project and I want to know how much I used, I take the yarn, I stick it right on my mailing scale, because for my custom orders, I print my labels here, so I have to measure or weigh everything, I mean. And so I'll put that amount right on the scale, and it'll tell me the ounces. And then I can translate that into yards if needed for people who want to know the yards. But that's some really good information right there. Now you'll notice there's a picture under here and some other information. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But I'm going to hold up the next picture. And this is the label you'll see right here. This is the label that holds the label together on the yarn. And we're going to just talk about the basics today, and then we're going to get into more detail next week, okay? So we're just going to talk about this thing first. And before we do, I want to show you this right under here. Do you see what that is? It's showing you that it's a center pull yarn, or you can pull it on the outside. And what that means is, I'm going to take the label off because it keeps falling off. What that means is you're going to have a center pull. That's not good. I hope there's another one in there. And then you're going to have an outside as well. I guess I'm going to have to go digging to find that. That is hilarious. I haven't used this one yet. And there we go. So I'm sure it's in there. And sometimes you do have to dig a little bit. You might get a little yarn barf. But almost all Red Heart, Lion Brand, I Love This Yarn, you're going to find that you're going to have a center pull and an outside wrap. And this one is telling you that that's exactly what that is. The next thing you're going to see, of course, that's the UPC label for scanning it if you're buying it from a place that scans the label. And then you're going to see the name. And then over here, you're going to see the die lot number. Now, a lot of yarns will say no die lot number. But a lot of yarns will have that die lot number on there. And it's very important. Like this one, the die lot is 4180. And it's really important that when you're going to do a project that has more than one skein or skein, or however you want to say it. I'm from the South, we say skein. That if you're going to need more than one of the skeins of yarn or balls of yarn, make sure you check for the die lot. Especially in ones that are like this, where it changes a lot. Because if it's a lot, the next skein is a lot darker or a lot lighter, you know, especially if you're working on a blanket or something where the project comes and makes full, you'll see, oh my goodness, the top will be too light and the whole section will be too dark. Even if it's a gradient yarn like this one, or ombre, you'll see the difference if you don't get the same die lot. And that's why that is very important. So that's the label that comes on there. Most of the time, in most of the yarns that you get, that's where you're going to find the name of the color and the die lot. You don't really need to worry about the UPC unless, like Hobby Lobby doesn't even scan stuff in. They still click everything in. But, you know, Michael's, Joann's, Walmart, different places, that's for them. We don't need that. So, one thing on here we don't need. But that's some basics on that. Now, let's talk about the whole label. Now, I've got the label here, but I made a picture so I could hold the whole thing up at once. And you can see there is a ton of information. Now, this picture here, this information that's right in here, that's all about the pattern that's on the inside, because almost every yarn company will give you a pattern to try on the inside. Sometimes it'll be a knitting pattern. Sometimes it'll be a crochet pattern, and sometimes it'll be both. A lot of times they'll have it in Spanish as well. I think this one is. Let's see, I can't. See, it's in 2 languages. Is that French? Looks like it. I don't know. The problem with me when it comes to languages is I'm terrible. I had 2 years of Spanish in high school. And I could write it all down. I could pass the test. but my brain, it just doesn't function. I have trouble with English. Let's put it that way. So anyway, that's what that information is all about. This right here in this little rectangle. And it's telling you what hook or needle you need, what it will look like when it's done, that sort of thing. And you've got all these symbols at the top. We're going to talk about these at a later date, but those are information on how to care for your project. Washing instructions, drying instructions, whether you can iron it or not, and things like that. And of course, here's the red heart, here's the name of the brand and the type, because all the yarn has a brand, a type, and a color. Super Saver Ombre in, well, what was this color? This one, blue azul, true blue. The azul was in Spanish. So every yarn label will have the yarn, which is Red Heart is the brand, and the type of yarn is the Super Saver, and the ombre, and then you'll have the color, which is also true blue. So those are all information that you need, because a lot of times you're looking up stuff and you say Red Heart True Blue and it might come in a solid, or you know, when you're looking it up online, it might come up as a solid. So make sure you get all that information. It's really important. And like we said, here's the ounces and yards right along here. This is the information for the thing on the back. Down here is just Red Heart, where it has Facebook and other places where you can find Red Heart, which is kind of neat, because if you go online and you can find it different places, you can see all the projects. And remember, redheart.com has a ton of free patterns. So does Karen Simply Soft. So does Yarn Inspirations that Karen owns, or yes, Yarn Inspiration owns Karen. Also Lion Brand Yarns, and even Hobby Lobby is starting to get a lot of free patterns, and that's really a neat idea to do. Of course, you can always find all their free stuff on Ravelry. Don't forget, Ravelry is a great source for lots of patterns. Okay, and then of course you've got all different information down here. Okay, so there's a lot of information, and it's hard to know what all of it means. So, what I suggest that you do, put my papers down, is get one of your skeins of yarn and really take a look at it. And I think you'll find that there's just, I mean, it gives you fiber content, it gives you how to wash it, you know, how to dry it, what hooks to use, what crochet needles to use, you know, all these symbols. And we're going to be talking about that in the next couple of weeks. And this is a great idea. I mean, you might want to try using the pattern that's on there, you know, and yeah, I think it's a great pattern. I might want to try that. It's really pretty. So it is a knitting pattern. And don't be afraid of knitting patterns. I know I prefer crochet and I love crochet, but don't be afraid. There's a lot of great knitting patterns out there. So anyway, that's just a basic run through today on how to read a yarn label. Okay. Important topics: the color, the dye lot, that you can have a center pull or an outside pull of the yarn. Understanding that there's Red Heart, there's Super Savers, your type, your kind, of course, is ombre, and then your color is true blue. And then all the information you can find on a yarn label. But go ahead and pull one off and just really look at it. And what I want you to do is, if you have any questions, you can message those to me. Remember, you can go to www.poshpoochdesigns.com, and then over there in the corner, it has listed like YouTube channel, blog, and then it says contact. All you have to do is click that contact button. It sends you straight to my email, and you can ask me a question. And anything you want me to cover on this. We are going to be talking about all these symbols. We're going to be talking about all the different things that are on the yarn label so that we can understand how to effectively use this, because it's a great help to us. Okay? And so today's was just a introductory, and we're going to continue with using this particular yarn label in our next couple of talks. Okay? All right, so that's just, like I said, introductory on how to read a yarn label. So I want to talk to you about something else. Remember I talked to you about, I was walking through Walmart and I found some of the stripes yarn on clearance. Well, they're not on clearance anymore. I think those were a mistake. So I got about 8 skeins of the striped for $1.50, and I'm really happy about that. But it's not on clearance anymore. But what I did find is Walmart's new yarn. And so I purchased these 2. They're kind of in muted, I call them muted Christmas colors. And this is the Walmart new yarn. I'm going to pop my glasses on real quick so you can see. It's called Mainstay Basic Yarn. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Walmart had Mainstay yarn before, but I don't remember when or where I saw it. But these are worsted weight number 4 yarns, and 7 ounces. And so that's comparable to your basic Red Heart Super Saver that comes in at 7 ounces. And at Walmart, the Super Saver, I think at mine was like $2.28 or $38. It kind of went up and down, whether they were doing a sale or not. You know, that, not marked down, but they do a thing where they put a section of things on sale for a while, then it goes back up. Well, this is $1.97 for 7 ounces. And I think it's a really, really good deal. And it's nice and soft. And I have to tell you, I think I'm gonna like using this. And cover my mouth. So anyway, I bought the green and the red in kind of muted colors. And I have a table runner for Christmas pattern that I wrote that I never put out there. So I think I'm going to use this and see how that works. And that'll be a good project to do. And then I'll let you know how the Mainstay yarn works. So I found it to be nice and soft. Now it's not as soft as like Karen Simply Soft. It's more like the Red Heart Super Saver with Love. That's what I'm thinking of. The Red Heart with Love. It's a little bit softer like that. And it is a full 7 ounces, and it's a nice yarn. So I'm really excited to try that out. And I'll be really happy if it works out to be really good yarn. So that's something new as far as yarn this week. So what's happening this week with my videos and patterns? Well, yesterday I finally finished the video for this poncho. This is the Amazing Stripes poncho. And it's called Amazing Stripes because you can see back there is the one I did for the video. There's a couple of spots on it where the yarn gets a little bit dark, and I tried to open it up so that you can see it. But when you're working with the variegated like that, that can happen. It's a super easy pattern, really easy to adjust to just about any size. And it's up to you how long you want to make it. The one I'm wearing is about the same size as the one back there. And then I also did a red, white, and blue one in Americana, and it is, I kept going with the same, and it's really long, and I just love it. It's over there on a hanger, but it's in last week's video if you want to see it. Okay, so we did that. And then you'll notice this loopy flower that I have on my poncho, and I have one back there. So I did the video for the loopy flower, and this is so much fun. I just pinned them to this board so I could show them all to you. You can make it as a double, or this one here has 4 rows. And you can continue with that pattern for as many rows as you want. Make the loopy flower bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's also super duper easy. So I did that video. That's a brand new pattern. And then another new pattern I have going on this week is just a super simple apple coaster. I made it look like a Red Delicious apple. Then I did a green one too. I thought it was fun in these bright colors. And I did these because going back to school, you need to think about those teachers and all the work they put into preparing and grading papers and just school time, class time. Because our kids are maybe in school, you know, for say 6 to 8, not even 8 hours probably, 6 hours, maybe 7 if you count lunch and recess. I don't know. Can't remember. But if you think about it, teachers are up early, they're early, they stay late, there's teacher conferences and activities, and teachers are still required to go to school and be continually learning, and there's all sorts of things that they have to do besides just the class time. And so it's a good idea to maybe make your teacher for your kids a nice little apple coaster so she can set her cup of coffee on her desk and be ready for class. I had lots of great teachers growing up. I can't really think of any, 1 or 2 that maybe I didn't care for especially, but those are usually the ones that made me work really hard. So anyway, We've got our poncho, we got our loopy flowers, and our apple coaster for what's new this week at Posh Pooch Designs. Now, I have a homework assignment for you. It's my teacher attitude kicking in. No, really, I just want you to go ahead and get one of your yarn labels and really look over it and see if there's anything you don't understand, and you can shoot me an email. And then also next week, what we're going to be doing is trying to understand what all the symbols on here mean. That's what we're going to do next week. Some of them are confusing, some of them you can look at the picture and go, oh, I can figure that out. So we're going to be talking about that next week. And then I'm thinking I'm going to, maybe 3 weeks of talking about the yarn label. And then I might get back into talking about some other things. Now, if you have questions, shoot those to me too, my email. And I'll do my best to answer your questions. Well, that's all I've got for you today on our live video chat. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for being here. And I'll be sure and read through all your comments. For some reason, the way that it's doing it now, the comments aren't showing, and it makes me really sad. But I do love that I get to have this time with you all. Thank you so much for popping in, and have a fantastic week.